Prices in the UK stores rose at the highest rate on record this month in a sign that cost of living crisis is far from over. The British Retail Consortium said shop price inflation accelerated to 8.9%, fresh peak from an index that started in 2005, and an increase from 8.4% in February. Food prices, their increases rather, 15% as fruit and vegetables fell into short supply. And as a reminder, UK inflation as of February headline year on year is 10.4%. In France, unions are holding another day of nationwide strikes to try to force Emmanuel Macron to reverse his decision on pension reform. An unprecedented 13,000 officers are being deployed, including 5,500 in just Paris, as security officers consider there's a very significant risk of breaches of public order. For more on these headlines, we'll cross over to London, where we're joined by Arise business analyst Bode Ososanmi. Good morning, Bode. Thanks for joining us. What else do we know about this major refinery deals between China and Saudi Arabia?
Good morning, Rotus, and thanks for having me on the show. Indeed, it is a major deal. China, of course, could emerge as the world's largest economy and is the largest importer of energy products, and indeed no better place to lock in future crude oil sales than China, especially with the strong anti-fossil fuel sentiment in the West. This is the second major China-Saudi deal in 2 days. This boosts Aramco's exports to China, commitments to ship nearly 700,000 barrels of extra oil a day for conversion to chemicals. The agreement with the Rongsheng is also Aramco's biggest ever foreign acquisition. We know Aramco is faced by an aggressive transition to cleaner energy, which is gaining momentum. Yes, they made $160 billion of profit last year, but they are weaponizing this massive cash chest that they have in their balance sheet to achieve plans to convert 4 million barrels a day of crude into petrochemicals by the end of the decade. Aramco sees that demand for plastics and other materials, mostly made from petrochemicals, are still going to be rising in coming decades, despite the uptake of electric vehicles, which will lead to lower consumption of gasoline and diesel. And they're also providing a generous credit line, $800 million, to finance commitment to sell about 500,000 barrels of crude oil to Rongsheng's 800,000 barrels a day. So it's a deal that's quite comprehensive. Earlier on Sunday, Aramco and other Chinese companies agreed to invest in a new 12 billion refining and petrochemical plant in China's northeastern Liaoning province. That brings total Chinese investments announced just in 2 days to over $7 billion. Is Saudi fighting clean energy transition? Perhaps not, but I think they see a competitive future and they are firmly committed to make the transition as slow as possible and investing hard ahead to protect their future business amid all the headwinds, especially given the tensions between the US and China, coupled with the anti-fossil fuel activism in Washington. I think partnerships like this are inevitable and going to expand. But Aramco is not alone. BP and Abu Dhabi doing something similar in Israel. Oil prices today moving up with other risk assets as markets were relieved by easing fares in the global banking sector. Brent is over $78. It's been range bound between $70 and $80 for a while.
Binance accused of breaking the rules. How is this likely to develop, you think?
Well, the crypto industry has little choice but to move from being perceived as shady and resistant to rules to actively cooperating to follow regulatory standards. And I think this is an opportunity for major players to come out of the shadows and find a place in the global financial industry. But this may have to come at the expense of changing some of their ways. CEO Changpeng Zhao, they call him CZ, said to be worth about $28 billion, brought a home in Dubai in 2021, and is very supportive of the city, which he describes as very pro-crypto. But the Commodities Futures Trading Commission take the view that places like Dubai and the Bahamas offer a cover for dodgy ventures, and the alleged crypto exchange operator is resisting trading on properly regulated platforms. Bitcoin, of course, has suffered from this deal. It dropped 3% after the suit. I can say that it's even down 3.71% today. Coinbase also fell 9.9%. What is Binance accused of doing? Instructing workers to circumvent compliance, not requiring customers to give proof of identity, not placing adequate compliance measures, coaching VIP customers on how to get around compliance controls, and helping VIP customers to open Binance accounts under the name of shell companies. All that, of course, sounds very familiar. But I think these are issues that will go to court, and we'll see how it develops. But it could be an opportunity for the crypto space to get things right.
And the U.S. Announcing a trade deal with Japan on electric vehicle battery materials. What do you make of that development?
Well, this is very interesting. There are three trends playing out globally here. One, the transition to climate-friendly models, with the U.S. leading in financing an aggressive expansion in electric vehicles. And then you have this different east-west polarization. China and the U.S. pulling further apart, both seeking allies and using whatever bits they have to secure the alliances. And then, of course, you have tightening of financial conditions and headwinds towards economic growth, forcing players to look for new geo-economic synergies and cooperation models. The US have gone a step further to end global competition rules with this Inflation Reduction Act. And there is access to a new 7,500 US EV tax credit. And of course, Europe, Japan and many other countries say it's unfair. Their countries also need to be able to benefit from these credits if indeed they are allies. So I think that's what's at the heart of this. Of course, the cooperation is an agenda to also weaken China's competitive grip and future expansion, reducing US-Japanese dependence on China for such materials by requiring collaboration to combat non-market policies and practices of other countries. We know what they're talking about, China. In other words, don't let China in. In exchange, we'll let you into these credits. And it's initially for a 2-year period, and I guess it's contingent on good behavior from Japan. The US is using its prime competitive advantage, economic muscle, to essentially buy partners in mature domestic markets who are desperate to do good business in the world's largest economy. We'll see how this develops in 2 years, but it's a new trend we're now seeing, a different type of globalization.
Very, very interesting developments. China, Saudi Arabia signing deals, US, Japan signing their own deals. It's all happening at once. Thank you so much. Arise business analyst Bode Ososanmi taking us through the headline.